Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. Our next case is cause number 328166. That case is styled the state of Texas versus Eric Neal Duncan. Eric Neal Duncan is appearing via Zoom. Mr. Duncan, Mr. Duncan, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Duncan, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Duncan, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Duncan?
I'm great, and you, sir?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Mr. Duncan, you're represented in your case by your attorney, Attorney Giles Cole. Attorney Cole, how are you doing?
Doing great, job.
Mr. Cole, do you waive a record in Mr. Duncan's case?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Duncan, I have before me a document that is titled information. This information was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. This information alleges that on or about October 6th of 2020, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of assault, family violence. Mr. Duncan, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Duncan, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest, sir.
Now, are you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor,
Yes,
that is not the agreement. That's not part of the agreement that we came to, as my understanding, as far as
what agreement?
our plea agreement, Your Honor.
I mean, I had mentioned a plea agreement. Only thing I did was ask him, did he plead guilty to the information?
And he said no contest.
Oh. Okay, Mr. Duncan, let me look at, I'm looking at the paperwork here. And the paperwork has initials END.
Yes,
And
sir.
this is on State's Exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment. Is the END are on a line next to a box that's checked guilty.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, sir. I was under the impression they were the same thing. Well, yes.
Okay, now, let me ask this question again. Well, let me make this statement now. Mr. Duncan, you're charged by information that was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. This information alleges that on or about October 6th of 2020, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of assault, family violence. Mr. Duncan, do you understand what you have been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, how do you plead? Not guilty, guilty, or no contest?
Guilty, sir.
Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Duncan, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments. Mr. Duncan, I'll show you this document. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of this same document, there are a set of initials, END, that are on a line next to a box that's checked guilty. Mr. Duncan, did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
And on page 3 of this same document, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes, sir.
On the next document, you gotta close that door right there. On the next document, this document is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature above the line that is titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
There are 2 boxes that's checked at the top of this document. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Duncan, did you sign a document on paper that is titled Discovery Certification?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Duncan, before you sign all of these documents that I've just mentioned to you, did your attorney, Mr. Cole, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Duncan, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibit number 1?
Yes, Your Honor. State offer states one.
No
Any
objection.
objections? No objections. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Cole, you have advised in counsel, Mr. Duncan. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Duncan, your attorney, Mr. Cole, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Duncan, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty in this case, the state is recommending confinement in the Jefferson County Jail for a period of 90 days, Your Honor. We're asking that the defendant be given credit for all time to which he is entitled by law.
Okay, Mr. Duncan. The state is offering that you serve 90 days in the Jefferson County Jail. You will be given credit for any time that you are entitled to get by law. The court cost in this case is $227. Will you be able to pay the the court cost is $327. Will you be able to pay the $327 court cost today?
No, sir.
Okay, now, Mr. Duncan, I have before me a document that is titled Affidavit of Indigence. Now, on this document, there's a signature. Apparently it was signed on January 3rd of 2023. And there's some financial information on this document. Now, Mr. Cole, pursuant to Article 1.24 of the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, all proceedings and trials shall be public. However, pursuant to Lilly versus State, 365 Southwest 3rd, 321, the right to a public trial is not absolute and may be outweighed by other competing interests or rights, such as interest in security, preventing the disclosure of non-public information, or ensuring that the defendant receives a fair trial. Mr. Cole, the court has this affidavit. I was going to ask your client about some financial information in his affidavit. Are you requesting that this portion of the proceeding be closed to the public?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. The court finds that the party seeking to close the hearing have advanced an overriding interest that is likely to be prejudiced in that it will disclose non-public information of the defendant. The closure is no broader than necessary to protect those interests. And the trial court have considered other reasonable alternatives to closing the proceeding. And the courts find it adequate for the closure. So at this time, this portion of the hearing will be closed to the